Viewer discretion is advised. Pokemon Sword and Shield came out a little while ago, so I figured I'd make a video about my thoughts on it. Since I made a video about these games prior to launch, this won't have as much editing, but this is scripted, so hopefully it doesn't feel too unconstructive. Also, this was supposed to be a quicker video, but then this script ended up being like 8.5 pages, so whoops. This isn't a review, but I at least want to get my thoughts out there, so here we go. But just a heads up, I'll be spoiling anything I feel like talking about, so if you care about that stuff, leave now. I feel really conflicted about these games. On the one hand, this is one of my least favorite games in the series. It's got a ton of issues that I'll get more into later, and it just feels like a step backwards in a lot of areas, to the point where it started making me worry about this series quality-wise. But on the other hand, I still had a blast playing it, and it's probably one of my favorite games released this year. Like, how does that work? I'll at least start off on the positives, because unlike what some fans think, this is nowhere near a bad game. It's still a good game, and it does plenty of things right. First off, this game's got awesome music as usual. Like, the fight against Zacian or Zamazenta uses wolf howling as instruments. That's the most Twilight Princess thing I've ever heard, and it's glorious. A lot of the battle themes are awesome too. The gym battles, Moni, Bead, and Hot battle themes are just all so good. Rose's fight is ironically this overly epic Xenoblade Final Fantasy-esque theme, and it's hilarious considering how easy he is. The area themes are pretty good too. A lot of them weirdly remind me of Gen 3 for some reason. Like, if you put Route 1 of Monostoke and Hoenn, it wouldn't sound out of place. Maybe it's the same composer or something, I'm not sure. Battle Tower theme was even composed by Toby Fox, the dude that mostly made Undertale. And it's based on a Homestuck fanfiction rock opera that's about a dude giving birth to his best friend. Oh my god, that makes this track way better. This soundtrack is great. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite soundtracks in the series or anything, but it's pretty great regardless. And I love how the gym challenge is more of a focus this time. They made it this big sporting event, which I really like. I wish that you could wear any gym uniform you wanted instead of the default one, but otherwise the theming this time is cool. You get to pick your jersey number as well, and if you picked anything other than 69 or 420, you were playing the game wrong. And we finally got a dog-type gym leader. God, it is real. Although I didn't really care about the gym leaders too much this time. Their issue is that they don't stick around for long. The only three I really liked were Pew's, Opal, and Rahan, but otherwise a lot of them just kind of felt there. I wish the last gym leader had 5 Pokemon instead of 4, but you fight him in a double battle, so points for almost uniqueness. At least this fight felt more engaging than Tate and Liza. I like a lot of the new Pokemon this time, my favorites so far being Toxtricity and Cinderace. Toxtricity is this lizard dude that has this punk rock aesthetic that's electric and poison. That's cool. They even get an ability that gives them stab and a resistance to sound moves. They'll die to any ground type move, but I don't care. Toxtricity is great. A lot of people seem to hate the starters this gen, but I don't see it. A Sakura Star Rabbit, a Drummer Ape, or a Secret Agent Lizard. I really like all three design-wise. I picked Scorbunny because look at this. This is clearly the best starter. Scorbunny's line was pretty good until it became fully evolved and learned a Flare Blitz that has no recoil, and Cinderace instantly became a most powerful pony member. He gets acrobatics and U-turn too. This dude was insane when he fully evolved. The regional bird, being Corviknight, wasn't normal flying again, which is great. I wish they kept the pure flying instead of it being flying steel, but hey, this one's pretty great anyway. It's pretty much an offensive Skarmory, which ended up being really useful. Kinda wish I got Sword Stance for the end of the game, but Home Claws let me sweep teams super easily. But since I'm talking about the team I used, I really liked Obstagoon. It's an evolution of Linoon, and I never thought I would actively want to use one, but here we are. I do wish it was pure Dark instead of Dark Normal, but I don't know, I think he looks cool. But it doesn't count as night until 11 PM in this game, and that's stupid. Like, that's intrusively late. My Linoon evolved 12 levels late, and I am still salty about it. And I didn't realize how easy it is to just switch the time either. My least powerful team member was Flapple. It's a worm inside of an apple. I love the pun. Grass Dragon Apple, man. That's awesome. This family has a split evolution when the item needed to evolve it being version exclusive. Kinda neat, but I got the attacking one, which is really good for 3/4 of the game. He kinda lost steam near the end, but his dragon dancing served me well. My last team member was a Gastrodon, weirdly enough. I couldn't decide what else to use, and it just felt a really nice spot in my team. I never used one before, and he ended up being one of my best members. There's a lot more than I want to use, though. I would have used Sizzlepede if I didn't already have a fire type. Bolton seems cool. Cursula is the best pun I've ever heard. The fossils all look like monstrosities and they really grew on me. I almost used a Galarian Domanitan. There's a lot of cool designs this time, but some of the evolution methods are insanely cryptic. Get 3 crits in one battle for 4 fetch, spin in a circle while Milcery is holding an item, take at least 49 HP of damage in one battle, and walk under a specific spot in the wild area to evolve Galarian Yamask. Like, this is some my uncle works at Nintendo kind of stuff. It's not bad per se, but I don't understand how they thought people would figure these out. At least they finally retconned location evolutions. Now I can finally use Glaceon at a reasonable level. All the new quality of life stuff is nice too. Having a stand to remember moves at any Pokemon Center is very convenient. I feel like maybe it should cost money or something though. Having this be completely free just feels weird. This stand lets you change the names too, which is also nice. You can change them whenever in Let's Go, so I don't know why you have to go to a Pokemon Center now, but it's not a big deal. You can also use the PC whenever you want, like in Let's Go, but I actually forgot about it by the end of the game because I hardly ever needed it. PC Pokemon don't heal until you go to a Pokemon Center, but I feel like it needs more restricting. It is restricted in some places, but being able to change your team deep into a dungeon sounds weird. Like, maybe being able to after you cleared it or something. I don't know, it just feels a little overpowered being able to do this whenever. But that's about it, honestly. Most of the good stuff about Sword and Shield aren't exclusive to it. Most of my enjoyment of this game came down to it's a Pokemon game, and I don't know if that's impressive, that's how fun this formula is, or sad that this game doesn't have a ton going for it in my opinion. Sword and Shield have a lot of problems. My biggest issue is how linear this game is. Now Pokemon has always been linear, but it feels far worse this time. It feels like just about every route in this game is a linear hallway with branching paths that lead to items. There was maybe like 1 or 2 routes that felt like actual areas you could explore, and there's a lot of places that you see but can't visit. Like in Turffield, the town where the grass gym is, there's a ton of houses off in the distance, but you can't go there as far as I know. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. If you're gonna put something interesting in the distance, let the player go there, because they'll probably want to. Pokemon's done this before, but combined with the game being way more linear this time, it was a lot more noticeable. The linearity feels conflicting with the main concept of this game. It gives you the freedom to use whatever party members you want, but it doesn't trust you enough to let you explore the world they've made. Galar is the most restrictive region yet, exploration-wise, and it made me not care about actually exploring it. You do get the ability to go on water with your bike later on, but there's maybe like 2 places where you can actually use it, other than the route you get it on. And that route is probably the most interesting route in the game. It's more than a straight path. There was a bunch of little islands, trainers to find out the main path. There was actual exploration in this route, and that's what this game's missing the most. The towns are really bare bones too. There's maybe like 1 or 2 that are more than just random houses. Winden is the biggest place in the game, and even then, it's only a few streets, so you can do everything in like 10 minutes. For how big the region looks, it feels like the smallest one yet. There weren't even any optional areas. There were a few optional back roads you can take, but they mostly lead to more items. There is not a single location in this game that you are not required to go to like there were in the past. There was no dungeons either, just more linear hallways. The escape rope is a key item now, which would be a nice change in any other game, but there was never a point where you would need to use it. And to the people complaining about this change, it's not like we always had like 5 or 6 of these things in our inventories at all times anyway. Escape ropes were never expensive, and just about every other RPG nowadays lets you leave dungeons basically for free. It's a nice change, but I forgot it was even a thing by the end because I never needed to use it. The linearity of this game takes the adventure out of it. You don't feel like some kid wandering around by themselves, you feel like you're just being guided along it. Oh, but it's a kid's game. I hate that argument. Pokemon was rarely hand-holdy until recently. Kids love these games anyway, and if you ignore Pokemon, Minecraft and Fortnite are super popular with kids, and those are some of the least hand-holdy games I've ever played. They just throw you on a wall and they're like, go. Figure this stuff out yourself, I don't care, have fun, bye. Yeah, sure, kids might not care about the hand-holding or even notice, but they clearly don't need it, so why go to such obtrusive lengths to ensure the player can't possibly get lost? Sure, when the game is more linear, it can lead to more challenge and a more cohesive story, but this game doesn't do either of those. The story in particular is just bad. Yeah, Pokemon doesn't really pride itself on story, but when it feels this half-assed, I'd rather just not have one at all. The game evolves around the gym challenge, and only the gym challenge. You hardly ever do anything else. You occasionally run into Team Yell, but they feel more like roadblocks than villains. They're not even funny like Team Skull was, they're just there. And I thought Team Flare was bad, but they're not supposed to be the villains. This obviously not evil chairman is. Shocker. There's obviously something going on while you're going from town to town defeating gyms, but they never let you take part in it. They're like, oh, don't worry about it, Leon is the undefeated champion, let the adults handle it. It doesn't just feel like bad storytelling with so much happening off screen, but it feels insulting that they don't even give you the choice to do anything non-gym related when the pacing really needed it. There was no villain plot until like right near the end of the game. After the Pokemon League, you're supposed to be fighting Leon, but he's busy in a meeting with Rose, so you go talk to him, make sure nothing weird's going on. But since they won't let you into Rose Tower, you have to go on a wild goose chase, get a key from this one referee. And then you fight a bunch of Macrocosmos dudes to go up Rose Tower and then fight Oleana. All for some still images telling you that Leon's helping Rose out with some plan of his, which you practically already knew. This whole section is completely pointless. Why do we have to do any of that? Then the match the next day is still postponed because Rose is like, time to end the energy crisis that won't happen for another 1,000 years by releasing some Pokemon that's probably an Ultra Beast. Like, god damn, just let me kick Leon's ass already. Why did this have to wait until after this game's Elite Four? The Evil Hideout is literally just a fight against Rose, then 2 fights against Eternatus. And the raid battle against Eternatus is so easy you couldn't possibly lose even if you tried. And then they just give you a legendary. This endgame is just really badly paced. There's something about the Darkest Day, which is some energy crisis or something, but I don't know because they don't really explain it. It's like that war in X and Y. They tell you about it but don't explain the details to the point where we stop caring about it. Speaking of which, whatever happened to AZ? I'd like to know, thanks. The post-game story is somehow even worse. Some dudes that somehow got approved for the final game just show up, make a bunch of Pokemon Dynamax for some reason, summon Zacian and Zamazenta because they're the descendants of Galarian royalty or something, break a bunch of laws and just leave scot-free. This is stupid. With how good the character designs are in Pokemon, I don't know how they came up with Swordward and Shieldbert. Yes, those are their actual names. It really feels like they just forgot to put in a post-game and just threw this together at the last minute. And hey, I can at least look past a bad story in a video game, but since you can't skip cutscenes, I would have preferred that there wasn't one if it was gonna be this half-assed. Oh, what's that? There was an option to skip movies? Yeah, it turns out that it only skips like 3 scenes in the whole game. Apparently. Let's Go lets you skip cutscenes. Why not this one? The characters were pretty alright though. There were like 4 characters I really liked. Everyone else was just fine. Other than the gym leaders I mentioned, I really like Sonia, who's the professor's granddaughter. I don't know, I just thought her arc about wanting to figure out what she wanted to do in life was relatable. She ends up being the new professor, and she's a much better one than Magnolia is, that's for sure. Magnolia is in like 2 or 3 cutscenes, and she doesn't introduce you to the world of Pokemon, she doesn't give you your starter, she just kind of exists. She's apparently studying Dynamax, but like, she never says anything about it, so I don't know. She's somehow the worst professor in the series. I didn't think that was even possible. The rivals I kinda liked. I like Bede and Moni, but they get so little screen time that it's hard to care about them. I love how much of a dick Bede was in the beginning. It felt awesome one-shotting all his Pokemon with my Linoon. He gets a lot nicer by the end, but he's still kind of a dick. Moni is actually nice, but he only fight her like 3 times. She's kinda like Wally, except she doesn't have a character arc. Again, I liked her, but she's in the game so little that it's hard to actually care about her. And then there's Hop. He's the main rival, and he's just kind of there for 90% of the game. His first fight is a brilliant tutorial, at least. He sends out a Wooloo first, and all of your attacks are neutral against it. But then you always level up and learn a new move, and then you use that move on a second Pokemon, being a starter, and it's always super effective. And it teaches you about type advantages, without it being like, hey, here's the type chart. And if you get a crit, you'll be like, what kind of beginner's luck is that? Which emphasizes that crits do more damage. It's a really good tutorial fight. And I like how they brought back dialogue during certain fights. I think last time I was there was Black and White 2, but they used it a little too much this time, because Hop continually says this stuff throughout the whole game. Oh man, how do you know about type advantages? Bitch, I've been playing these games since I was 3, that's how. Hop is a pretty mad rival until right near the end of the game, because he's all sad and stuff because you keep curb stomping him and he's not good at anything and wait, what? That's depressing, why didn't you say that earlier? I feel his character would have been much better if they devoted less screen time to him and put more time toward the other characters, because he's kind of annoying until post-game, and then his character was really good all of a sudden out of nowhere. He's living in his older brother's shadow, and that's really interesting. Why didn't they focus on this earlier? His parents don't like him that much either, considering how many pictures they have of Leon and like none of Hop. Leon's an alright champion. I like how he feels more like this cocky sports superstar, not so much this respectful grandmaster kind of dude, but the amount of times they bring it up is annoying. Like, yes, I know he's the champion, I know he's undefeated, I get it. And he's weirdly incompetent when it counts. Like, for some reason, he couldn't defeat Eternatus despite having a level advantage over it and having multiple Pokemon type advantages over it. How are you champion again? Like, this son of a bitch threw a Pokeball at full health to try and catch some world-ending monster. He's got balls, I'll give him that. But it just kind of made me go, sit down and let the kids handle this asshole. The wild area is the main new thing introduced this gen, and it's really boring. I like the idea of having this big area to explore, but there's nothing to do other than catch Pokemon. If you're connected to the internet, you'll see other players running around, but you can't do anything with them, so I have no idea why they're there. It seems like all they do is just make the frame rate tank. The game otherwise runs at a pretty consistent 30 FPS, which after Sun and Moon, thank God, but there really needs to be something other than just catch Pokemon or camping. I think it's an improved Pokemon to me, but I was never really into that stuff, so I just didn't touch it. You can do max raid battles where we fight Dynamax wild Pokemon, but those are also boring. You just spam your super effective moves and watch the fireworks. I just hate how long they take. The animations need to be quicker or something. They're kind of hard with the AI, but that's only because of how dumb they are. Like, I'm gonna kill whoever keeps setting in this stupid Wobbuffet. How is the Magikarp more useful than this thing? Your rewards are decent at least, mainly being EXP candies and these new things called tentacle records. Remember how TMs used to be one use only? That's what TRs are, and they effectively replace move tutors. But Jesus Christ, they picked the wrong moves to make TRs in this game. Remember how convenient it was making TMs unlimited use? The TMs in this game are useless more often than not, but all the good attacking moves like Flamethrower, Surf, they're all TRs now and are limited use. Like, no, that's stupid. All the moves you want to constantly reuse are the ones that are limited use now, and it's gonna make raising up new Pokemon more annoying. Don't let Thunderbolt be a level up? Well, I guess you gotta grind out these annoying raid battles then. You can buy TOs with Watts in the wild area, but it's random which ones you get each day, and that's annoying if you need one specific move. Teaching moves is just back to being grindy. It's such a step backwards, it's unreal they thought this was a good idea. Maybe it was for balance, I don't know, but they were balanced in the first game they were introduced in. All the good TMs were only available in the endgame or postgame, which is when Pokemon would be learning this stuff anyway. Why not just have like 200 TMs instead? That'd be great. Or make all the random moves like Rock Tomb, Pin Missile, and freaking Screech TRs. You know, the stuff you might not use as often. Dynamaxing in general is dumb too. Okay, yeah sure, it's boring compared to Mega Evolution looks-wise, but gameplay-wise, they're stronger than Megas ever were. All it does is give you more health and super powerful moves for 3 turns, effectively replacing Z moves as well. And since you still have an item slot, you can just kind of spam the same move over and over and just kind of win. Like, take Max Flare. It's not only a really powerful move, maybe around 120 to 140 power, depending on what base move you use for it, but it also puts up Sunlight in the same turn, so you also make future use of this attack more powerful. The same deal with Max Geyser, but Rain. Fighting moves can increase your attack, Flying increases your speed, Poison raises special attack. They really didn't balance this very well. Yeah, it only lasts for 3 turns, but in competitive play when you typically have 3 Pokemon in singles, you can get a lot done in 3 turns. Even against gym battles, it's likely you just throw in a type advantage and one-shot through their Pokemon. Maybe you have to deal with their Dynamax spawn, but more health doesn't mean they can't go down in 1 hit. I was actually able to do that multiple times. It wasn't hard to kill these guys in 1 to 2 hits. There's also a Gigantamaxing where they get a new look when Dynamax and a new max move. No stat changes, no type changes, nothing. I guess that'd be fine, but there's no way to get Gigantamax Pokemon except through raid battles. If you caught a regular Pokemon in the wild, there was no way to Gigantamax it. So basically, it's pointless. Not to mention that a lot of them are straight up worse than their normal Dynamax form. Why set up Fire Spin when I can just set up Sunlight instead? Why Paralyze when I can set up Electric Terrain? Why raise my crit chance when I can just increase my attack? Although Lapras' max move that reduces all damage for 5 turns is insane. That one's good, but that's about it. So you have to go out of your way to get these special Pokemon that don't even do anything useful. Lame. This game is really easy too. It's not quite X and Y easy, but it's a close second. The main thing is the forced experience share. It's not an item this time, and it's just integrated into the game, but the fact that you can't turn it off really annoys me. Ever since the experience share was a key item that caused every Pokemon to get the same experience, it made the game stupid easy, but they gave you the option to ignore it. Not here. They did balance it better, so it scales with every Pokemon depending on their level compared to the opponents, but it still isn't enough. The game keeps everyone at just a high enough level for me to not have a hard time with it. It's not brain dead easy, but there were only like 3 fights in the whole game that felt legitimately challenging. I'm okay with the experience share. I'm okay with it being on by default. Just give me the option to turn it off like you could before. I put the battle style on set and never used Dynamaxing, and I still had a pretty easy time. Okay, my experience with the difficulty may be a little skewed because I tried to make it harder, but even after that, I still only lost twice. Once was because some battle cafe used Pokemon 10 levels higher than mine for some reason, and the other was was because I didn't have anything to deal with Nessa the first time. It's not like I had a bunch of close calls or anything. There were maybe 2 other times where I almost lost, and it's not just the level curve either. This game gives you free heals constantly, and there's a lot less trainers than the overworld too. Maybe you could call all the free heals a convenience, but you could always go back to the Pokemon Center if you chose to. This game doesn't give you that choice. The gym leaders in bigger fights at least have moves to cover weaknesses, but that doesn't matter much when you can just Dynamax and one-shot everything anyway. The game at least gives you the choice to play on set and never Dynamax, but everything else is made easier for you, unless you want to do a challenge run or something. But challenge runs are an intentional thing the player does, not the game does. Can you really say that the game is harder when the player chose to release a Pokemon when everyone fainted? They're a band-aid to the problem, not a solution. That's not to discredit Nuzlocke or anything. That's something that the player intentionally does. It's not like a difficulty select or something. And I'm not necessarily asking for a difficulty select or anything, but being able to turn off the experience share again would help a lot. But honestly, I could probably forgive a lot of this stuff if it wasn't for how little content this game has. The main game took me around 16 hours instead of the usual 20 or so, and that's like, what? Okay, maybe it's shorter due to faster battles or no random encounters or whatever. Fine. We can ignore that part. The post-game has a post-game story that's maybe like an hour, hour and a half. Then there's the battle tower and that's about it. Besides gym leader rematches at the Pokemon League, there's nothing to do other than just catching Pokemon, and that gets boring quickly to me. There needs to be more rewards for catching Pokemon other than just making shinies easier to find. After about 25 hours of playtime, I ran out of things to do. As someone who doesn't complete the Pokédex and doesn't care about going out of my way to catch Pokemon, I got bored. There was no optional legendaries to go after, no new areas to go through, no significant side quests, nothing. If you have no interest in competitive play or completing the Pokédex, there's nothing here. This game costs $60. Why does it feel so bare bones? We're actually looking at a game for a AAA price that has less content than DS games released close to 13 years ago, and that's pathetic. These games sell way too many copies to have as little content as they do. But yeah, overall, Sword and Shield are good games, but they're so bare bones. When I finished Sword, I didn't want to immediately replay it like I did with Sun. I wanted to go back and play the other games instead. They really reminded me of X and Y. Yeah, they might be good groundwork for future games, but that doesn't excuse how lacking they are in content and challenge. Sure, Sword and Shield are still fun games regardless, and yeah, I'll probably end up replaying this at least another 3 or 4 times, but that's just Pokemon to me. I enjoy these games so much that even my least favorite games I still end up playing multiple times. This time, it just feels unsatisfying. It feels like there should be more here, but there isn't. The good is here. The good is really here, but it just ends up feeling unpolished and rushed. The linearity and handholding have been constant issues in recent years, and that's clearly not changing. I wouldn't say that all hope is lost for this series or anything, but if these games keep making the same mistakes without any clear indication of wanting to improve, it's going to get stagnant. And I say this as someone who's been playing these games all my life. I want these games to be better. I know they can be, and they have been in the past. No matter how I felt about Sword and Shield, I think most people can at least agree that these games need more development time. HD development takes a lot more resources, and you can't just release these games yearly like you could on DS. They gave Sun and Moon more development time, and that game turned out great, at least in my opinion. A lot of people seem to hate them for some reason, I don't really know why. Now, obviously, I'm not saying you can't enjoy these games. I'm happy for those that enjoyed it despite the flaws. But if you say those flaws don't exist, you're not helping anyone. I find it weird how the Pokemon is getting a free pass on a lot of stuff because it's Pokemon. That's not an excuse, at least not usually. The people who dismiss anyone who have actual criticisms of the games are giving a very toxic message. Like, they're fun, who cares? Yeah, they're fun, they've always been fun, but having that mindset doesn't improve anything. Remember when we all made fun of IGN for giving Oras a 7.8 out of 10 for having too much water? Remember how it was a big enough meme that they even referenced it in Sun and Moon? That was actually a legitimate complaint. Hoenn Endgame has way too much surfing and way too many water types. Why are we ridiculing anyone who says anything negative about these games? Could it have been worded better? Of course, but to say that it wasn't an issue at all feels wrong in hindsight. And that's just one issue in one game. People have been ignoring a lot of flaws in this series for ages, including myself, and it's starting to show with how unambitious Sword and Shield are. We should start pointing out flaws in these games, at least the constructive ones. Don't be that guy that says that the trees were better in Ocarina of Time unironically. Say more stuff like bring back the challenge, or give us more stuff to do in the post-game, or or whatever else constructive criticism you have, just like you would anything else. If we want these games to be better, the flaws need to be known and also not going to be fixed. Maybe it just goes to show how fun these games are. Despite the flaws that continue to persist, millions keep buying and loving them. And I reiterate, I enjoy the game too, but I've been playing these games for too long. I'm tired of seeing these games continue to make the same mistakes. I just want these games to be the best that they could be, and it probably won't happen with the release schedule they seem dead set on. I don't know who keeps making these decisions. I said previously there was Game Freak, but that was short-sighted. It could be Game Freak, it could be the Pokemon Company, it could even be Nintendo, but it doesn't matter. Just make it feel like you're trying to push the series forward again. God, I hope I'm not becoming some new age Gen 1er saying the new games aren't as good as they used to be. Or Gen 3 or Gen 5 or whatever. But hell, maybe that's what this series needs, to go back to its roots, and not by going to Kanto again. A spiritual successor to Gen 1 might be the best thing that can happen to Pokemon right now. Sure, Red and Blue are buggy, flawed slogs to play nowadays, but it's those same buggy, flawed games that made this series so successful to begin with. And with Fire Red and Leaf Green, the games and world design still holds up. Give the player more freedom, have an intended order of gyms, sure, but let the player do them in any order if they can manage to. Make the region more non-linear and have it loop back into itself. Expand the wild area to something that doesn't feel like a proof of concept. Make multiple different wild areas while you're at it. Give us a reason to catch them all. Give us periodic rewards for catching Pokemon like Red and Blue did. Give us those deep, multi-layered dungeons that you can get lost in again. While I actually like it when Pokemon tries to tell a story, most people don't from what I've seen. Take out the story. Make it more about your story, not what the game sets you on. Make the box legendaries optional like they were in Gold and Silver. Don't hold the player's hand the whole time. Let us turn off the experience share. Make it challenging if the player wants it. And for the love of Arceus, make a post-game that's worth a damn. Maybe not a full Battle Frontier, but why not bring back the Pokemon World Tournament? It was basically just a battle tower, but it was so awesome seeing every gym leader and every champion come back just because. Give us a bunch of legendaries to catch, even if they're old ones. Look to the past to improve the future. Recapture that magic that made this series so special. Pokemon doesn't have to be this Breath of the Wild-esque AAA game to improve. Just take your time and make a game that's truly special. I'm not getting my hopes up though. I'm not actually expecting any of this to happen. Just some food for thought. This has been Flame Guy. Take care, and I'll see you all next mission.